Hello, my name is Doug Strader. I'm a paramedic with the Muhlenberg County Ambulance Service. I've served as a paramedic in the state of Kentucky for over 25 years. Today I want to speak with you a little bit about drug use and drug overdoses. One of the norms that used to be is they equated drug overdose or drug use with someone lower income or mental illness. But understand that's not true. Drug overdoses affect all people of whatever their social status or economic status. So let's understand, what is an addiction? Well, addiction is a chronic dysfunction of the brain that involves reward, motivation, and memory. So it's all the way about how your body craves a substance or behavior, especially when that substance causes a compulsive or obsessive pursuit of that reward with a lack of concern of any negative consequences. The problem is the consequences usually are death. So with that being said, drug overdoses occur from a learned behavior. We should all understand that those that do drugs, that the best high they will ever achieve is the first time they used a drug, which leads to using more and more to achieve that high. The problem is, a lot of time, all they achieve is death. A lot of times we equate drug overdoses with illicit or illegal drugs, but that's not always the case either. Many people may start their drug addiction from prescription medications. Once again, they're trying to achieve that high that which they can no longer achieve over the counter, which then can lead them to get into illicit or illegal drug activity. But something I want you to understand that's different today than from years past. The drug overdose rate in the U.S. is happening at an alarming rate, in large part due to the drug fentanyl. The problem is with fentanyl, it is very potent, it is a synthetic drug, and people are taking this drug and putting in a pill form to make it look like a prescription medication. The only problem with that is it's not measured out properly. So one pill someone could take, they may achieve a little or no high, but the next pill may be lethal. So now people are not dying from an addiction, they're dying from a first-time use. To put that in perspective, if we were to say a fifth of one drug would kill you, understand that fentanyl, only a shot would kill you. That's how very potent this medication is. So what we need to understand also is drugs like fentanyl, morphine, oxy, Demerol, hydrocodone, all these are called opioids. Don't confuse that with Valium, which is a whole different drug. But what we need to know is that the opioids, the drug itself is not what kills. It is the fact that the opioid blocks the brain from telling the body to breathe. So what does that say? Basically, someone would suffocate due to the lack of oxygen to their vital organs. Now, we all understand that Narcan is the drug that says reverses the effects of the opioids. And in effect, that is true, but also understand that Narcan basically blocks the opioids from affecting the body. Now, depending on how much was taken, depends on how much Narcan one would have to receive. Once again, back in the day, 1 to 2 milligrams of Narcan would bring someone right around. They would be conscious, alert, and talking. Today, we're seeing anywhere from 6 to 12 milligrams being given just to get a person to breathing on their own again. I've even seen patients that have overdosed, had to be placed in a hospital, and be given Narcan as an infusion through an IV till the drug has been completely eradicated from their system. The only way to eradicate it is the body must process it. So that is the purpose of the Narcan staying intravenously. So, what have I seen? Well, I can refer back to a 30-year-old female was found one morning by her daughter as she was getting up and getting ready to go to school. She found her mother unresponsive on the living room floor. As we got there, we seen no drug paraphernalia, but it was later found that when she was tested at the hospital that she had an opioid in her system. The problem was we did not know how long she had been down. She was not breathing, which means she was not conscious. So I had to insert an airway, which basically is this, we take a tube and insert it into the trachea, and then we use what we call a back valve mask to basically breathe for them, and also start an IV and administer the Narcan. There was no change. There was no response from her even after we got to the emergency room. Not long after being at the emergency room, she began to have seizures. She later was transferred to another hospital, for which then we come to learn that she had had what we call an anoxic brain injury, which means lack of oxygen, for which ended up is non-reversible. Once brain cells die, they're dead, they're gone, there's no bringing them back. Another case, had a 50-year-old male. Wife said he'd went to the bathroom, locked the door. She didn't think too much of it. He had been clean for about 6 months. She went to sleep, woke up the next morning, noticed the bathroom door was still locked. She knocked on the door, no response. She kicked the door in and found him in the floor. When we got there, he was slumped over. His face was purple from where the blood had pooled in his head. Rigor mortis had already begun to set in, so he had been dead for up to 6 hours. The tourniquet was still on his arm, and the heroin needle was still in his hand. There was nothing we could do on that one. But one of the worst is when we get called at 6:30 in the morning to a 3-year-old child in cardiac arrest. Now, as you know, cardiac arrest means they are not breathing, they do not have a pulse, and we hope that someone's doing CPR. The problem with this is the 3-year-old child was not a drug user. He did not have an addiction. This child somehow had come in contact with an opioid, whether it was on his skin, whether he accidentally ate something or accidentally inhaled something. But this child was lifeless. With all we could do, nothing was bringing that child back. Once again, drug use and drug overdoses don't only affect the user, they affect the family, and they can affect our children. Thank you.